On this episode of the Distributed Data Show, we're going to talk about a matter of grave national, even international importance.
Really?
I'm not talking about global warming.
Okay.
I'm talking about application development.
How are we going to be able to do that in one episode?
Oh, no. It's a series.
Oh.
From DataStax, this is the Distributed Data Show.
So we've had a bunch of episodes about use cases. And that makes sense because people need to use a database and to actually do real things with it. And I love to hear those use cases. We had a bunch of great conversations at Developer Days with people this fall, right?
Right.
But we heard a lot from them about the kinds of, lots of questions. They didn't say, hey, make a distributed data show about topic X, but they come up to us with the questions, right? So like what kinds of things have we been hearing?
So I think that's kind of the whole basis around what our job is really all about, which is as developer advocates, we're out there in the community working with our customers, our users, our developers, basically anyone who's trying to be successful, with our product and with Apache Cassandra. So being out there talking to them. And some of the things I think that we heard the most about was about application development and actually, using the database to actually get something done.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So why would I learn about a distributed database anyway?
Right.
Okay, some people might find it intellectually stimulating, but most of us are just trying to build something, right? So obviously. So I thought maybe let's do 3 months worth of episodes about application development. We got to ask that many questions.
That's true.
About different topics from different people. So maybe a good way to think about this is the application development life cycle. And no, I'm not going to start with old school classic waterfall where we talk about requirements for 3 months.
Okay. So we're going to go agile.
Yeah. Okay. So we're trying to dive right into it. But even so, I do think data model is probably a good place to start.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think so.
User interface design? No. Data model.
If you're going to start with square one, what is it that you need to know? You need to know how to model your data.
Right.
So I definitely think we should start there for sure.
Okay. So what are we going to talk about in this series? Because we have tons of content on DataStax Academy about, and whole courses about data modeling, but what in particular do we hear about from developers?
So I think the number one question that we see, so we get like you said, we have quite a lot of resources around data modeling, and we get quite a variety of questions. But the number one question that we always seem to get is always around data modeling for time series data.
Right.
So especially with all, so with all the IoT applications that are out there right now, time series is huge. So I think we're definitely going to have some blog posts.
Yeah.
And maybe a follow-on episode with possibly myself and our coworker Cedrick.
Yeah.
That may be something coming here very shortly.
Yeah, we're working on that. I certainly hope that I'm looking forward to your blog series. Cassandra is really good at time series. It's in one of the most frequently kind of categories of or patterns of use cases. Mm-hmm. So we hear about it all the time. There's definitely some best practices for that, right? Okay, so we're ready to start coding once we have a data model, but we have to pick a programming language, right, that we're going to implement things in.
Right.
So what do we have to choose from if we're using Cassandra DataStax Enterprise?
Right. Well, that's one question. But the other question is also, if I'm going to be building an application from scratch, I probably want to be working with one of the newest and hottest, trendiest languages, right? And so that really brings to my mind the language Go. Right?
Okay.
That is super new, super trendy. Now, we don't actually have a driver for DataStax or Cassandra for Go. But Adron has been investigating the community, investigating this language, and he's going to give us a lot more information about it.
Getting started with GoSQL is wildly easy. All you have to do is throw in the standard Go get github.com/GoSQL. And then upon adding that library reference, we can set up the new cluster with various public IPs here. However that's set up, we just issue a key space create command, create the tables as we need, and we can go to writing all of the CQL querying that we want. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about more of what you can do with GoSQL, Apache Cassandra, and DataStax Enterprise.
So let's talk about a driver that we do have for both DataStax Enterprise and Apache Cassandra. And that's also one of my favorite languages to code in, which is...
Oh, I know now.
Yes,
Yeah.
now you know which one it is. It's Python.
That's right.
So we've been doing some work around that. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what we've been working on?
Yes. Okay, so Python, super popular. I had never done any app dev in Python before, and it's now, what is it, number 2 now on like the most popular languages?
You know, I think it's all over the place. And
Yeah.
I think I've read one article and said in 2018 it was the number 1 language for
language of the year.
Exactly. So not only app development, but also data science. So
and that's really, I think, what's pushing it to the top spot.
Yeah.
So as a way of working myself into this, I thought maybe you know Python, I don't know Python. Let's work together on a killer video implementation in Python.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing. I don't know how much do we scoop right now of our episode on that?
Ooh. Well, maybe we'll just talk about a few of the high points.
Yeah, give me some high points.
Okay. We're going to talk about how easy it was. Because Python is so easy to use.
That's true. I found a bunch of libraries that like helped me do things.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, validating an email address. It was like, bam, there's a library for that.
Exactly. But then there's some parts that aren't so easy, right? Like setting up your environment with all those dependencies that do all those cool things, but you also have to have your system all set up for that.
I may have messed up Amanda a couple of times with my dependency additions.
So we'll talk about that for sure. The easy and the not so easy. And also maybe some really cool integrations that we did.
Yes. For the first time, we've introduced Kafka into the killer video stack. So there's some cool possibilities with that because eventing is a key part of what the killer video application does. And we've done in-memory messaging frameworks up until now. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that we've actually used something that goes outside across applications. So anyway, I feel like I'm doing the Python episode now. So let's stop.
Yeah.
We'll tie a bow on that and we'll come back to it later.
Yes.
But Go, up and coming. Python, something that we're really digging into, super popular.
Yep.
There's the old standby of Java.
Yes.
Right. And we acknowledge that most application development done using Cassandra is Java.
Right.
Big surprise, right?
Right. So I think we're going to have a follow-on episode that's going to focus just on the best practices with using Java Driver.
Excellent. Yeah. And Eric's going to tee us up for that. He's really been digging into things like when to use lightweight transactions, how to set consistency levels, when to use retries. There's a bunch of tips and tricks that he's going to share with us.
We're going to talk about lightweight transactions, how to use them, some of the caveats around them, the pain points they solve, and just generally trying to be successful in your implementation.
Okay, so we've picked an implementation language. Maybe it's Java. And especially if you're in the Java world, you're probably looking at using an application development framework. Why? Because it's going to make your job so much easier if you can like kind of use this boilerplate code, especially if you're doing something like microservices. You could start to use a Spring Boot. That's really popular. We see a lot of that usage. But I said Spring, and there's another aspect of that we get asked about a lot.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Spring Data Cassandra. So we get asked about this a lot. As a framework. David Gilardi is going to dig into this for us a little bit and really get to the bottom of what's going on there. What are the best practices for using that?
Should you use it at all?
So Spring Boot is a really easy way to inject Spring into your Java application with minimal setup. We're going to have on a special guest who's really going to dig into the why and how of Spring Boot. Then we're going to discuss Spring Data Cassandra. And okay, so generally in the past, I have recommended to not use Spring Data Cassandra for various reasons. But over time, my views have kind of changed on this and evolved a little bit. There are actually a set of good reasons why many development teams may choose to use something like Spring Data Cassandra. So we're going to discuss those reasons, and then we're going to look at some things, though, that you really need to watch out for in some later videos.
So the next framework that we're going to focus on is one that's very new to me. I know just very high level all about it, which is JHipster.
Yeah, super trendy.
Super trendy. Could be like a really cool store, or it could be a framework, but basically it's going to get you started from very quickly, you have your front end all the way to your back end.
Yes.
In your application. But that's really honestly all I know about it. So I'm really excited for Cedrick to come and just teach us more about how to actually dive in and use it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
This season, to help you building application on top of Apache Cassandra and DataStax Enterprise, I will introduce you the JHipster framework. It's the scaffolding tool that will generate for you a full working application based on your entities. You can ping among multiple technologies, both for front-end and persistent, and it's a very good way to bootstrap your project. We may also have a very special guest on the show, so stay tuned.
Yeah, so we love all of these frameworks that help us rapidly develop and prototype applications and, take away some of the grunt work of building out that infrastructure and all the plumbing that hooks everything together. But we also get asked a lot about Cassandra plus X, fill in the blank, right? What if I want to use Cassandra with Spark, or what else?
Cassandra with Solar, Apache Solar. We hear that quite frequently. A lot of people talk about using a separate search cluster, things like that.
Yeah.
We also hear a lot about using a graph engine.
Yes,
so
that's
things like
right.
Integrating with Apache Tinkerpop.
Okay.
So I think we're going to have a really great episode with Denise talking about all these integrations, especially focused on Apache Tinkerpop and Graph. Okay, so we've talked a lot about integrations, right? But let's just get down to it. Let's get our application out into production. Let's actually get somebody using this thing. So what do we need to do?
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, what about testing? Are we going to test the application?
Yes.
Before we go to production?
Yes.
Or are we going to test in production? I mean, maybe that's your thing. I don't know. But
maybe a little bit of both. Yeah.
So Aleks is going to give us a little bit of the state of the art in testing. He's going to cover the gamut from unit testing, integration testing, user interface testing. He's going to cover it all.
We will speak about testing, continuous integration, and continuous delivery. If you want to build your application reliable and have no bugs or downtime in production, that's exactly the thing you need. And if you are afraid to deploy on Friday, you do need it. See you soon.
Okay, so we spent this whole episode and we haven't talked about the most trendy thing in all of tech, and that's Kubernetes.
Oh, you did not.
Yeah, I had to bring it up. You can't have a whole episode without talking about Kubernetes.
Oh man, and we can't have an whole application development series, I guess, without talking about deployment using Kubernetes.
Exactly.
I might be persuaded that we should cover that. You talked me into it, so let's do it.
Okay.
We'll throw it in.
Okay,
We'll
great.
work it in somewhere.
Okay, good.
Complete the cycle, the application life cycle of developing and deploying our application. I buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to be good. I think that kind of wraps up this episode, but we really want to thank all our special guests that have appeared on this episode with us, and of course, all the guests that we're going to see in the future episodes of this series.
That's right. And we're going to try to get our social media game going, get some questions out to you, some opportunities for you to feed some questions to our guests so that we can surprise our guests with those questions on the fly and see how they react.
Yeah. Awesome. Till next time.